Well, good morning, everybody. It's Connor back here with the three things that we learned after yesterday's draw at Loftus Road, 2-2 with QPR. Yeah, was it a point gained? Was it two drop? Let me know in the comment section below. Leeds United haven't got a game to bounce back for around about 12 days now. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Let me know in the comment section below. On the second channel, we will be doing the Sheffield Derby at midday, which I'm actually quite excited for just as a football game in general. And yeah, let us know on there what your thoughts are on everything. But yeah, we've hit 4,000 subscribers as well on the second channel, which is great. So thank you so much for your support there, everybody. We do watch-alongs on there. We do extra general bits on there as well. So make sure you check that out. Yeah, listen, I wanted to get on to three things that we learned yesterday. We did a watch over to the Instant Match Reaction, the fan forum. Go over after this and watch that, everybody. You might find that quite entertaining. You might find some points in there, ones of which you think, should be illustrated, shouldn't be illustrated from the fans that we got on yesterday. But let me know in the comment section below. So first thing that I learned was Willy Gnonto, and I didn't really learn it. I've been shouting from the rooftops for about 6 months now that either Ramazani and Willy Gnonto or even Man or Solomon should go into that number 10 role at some stage, and we can work around the other wingers in the squad going into left wing or right wing, and that will be fine. It's nice to actually see the fan base now seeing what some of us have been saying for a while now, and it is a little bit of an I told you so moment, because the amount of rubbish that we've been being told that wingers can't play in the 10. We need a specialised number 10, even though at Norwich he had Marco Stiepermann, a left back in the number 10, and he's never properly had a specialist number 10. Maybe you could say a stretch at Borussia Mönchengladbach, but I think it's really nice to actually see right now Willy Gnonto getting his flowers. He came on and was miles better than what Brendan Aronson has been in a half, in my opinion, creatively, even in that pocket, even in 2025. So it's lovely to see that. And hopefully now, Daniel Farke came out afterwards and essentially said, well, it was a great performance from him. I was twiddling my thumbs essentially to who should start, Brendan Aronson or Willy Gnonto. Why didn't you go with Willy Gnonto then after Brendan Aronson's performances, and especially Brendan Aronson's away performances have been nowhere near up to it. As I say, 1 goal and 1 assist in 2025. It's just not good enough for a team that create the volume of chances and have the ball in the attacking third as much as we do. But he's found himself lost with the last 6 to 8 weeks, really completely lost as well. So hopefully now we see Gnonto in that 10. Hopefully that's been the light bulb moment with 8 matches left. And unlike last season, I feel like with the greatest of respect, not having the impacts off the bench, when you look at the bench that we had last season, maybe what Joe Gelhardt was the impact off the bench last season. But aside from that, now we have Ramazani, we have Gnonto, we have an improved Matteo Joseph in terms of just progression in his career. I actually thought yesterday with the balls that were going into the box, the amount of superb balls that have been put in from Solomon, from Bogle, from Dan James, even at points, even though I thought he had a bit of an off game, there was no one there to put the ball in the back of the net. And that's because Joel Peru obviously isn't that type of striker. He's the type of striker naturally who's going to delve a little bit deep and try creatively display his quality. And he's another one who could go in the number 10 as well, with Joseph as just that number 9. So Daniel Farke has multiple options. So my finger is being pointing directly at Daniel Farke for these changes coming up, because it is up to him. It's a massive period for him. And that's, look, me coming on to my second point, it's a huge period for Daniel Farke, this, because last season, as much as we used to say, at Norwich, he'd get stronger. Norwich would get stronger throughout the season. Last season, we didn't get stronger. We won 3 games in 11 and then put in a really poor performance at Wembley. So it's one of those where I need to see now Daniel Farke adapting. I need to see Daniel Farke rotating, which is what he was criticised for at this point last season. So look, we can all have the love in. We can all be happy at this stage. The context is, as Helen Walker was saying yesterday, we are top of the division, and that is quite right. And that is a fantastic thing. It's quite right. But there are 24 points to play for right now. And we have seen 5 points in 12. And we've seen a little bit more of a slump when it comes to Leeds' seasonal average. That's just facts with how good we've been this season. And going into the final 11 games, Leeds were on fire, weren't they? The 10 games before that, we were absolutely on fire. In a collective of all those games as well. Leeds had won? Was it 10 on the bounce? Were fantastic. So this is the point of which now the final furlong, where we need to see Daniel Farke adapting with the likes of Willy Gnonto, with the likes of giving Largi Ramazani more minutes, not just 131 minutes in the span of 15, 16 games. And for some reason, there's a selection of the fan base who seem to expect him to be doing miracles. And that's what's happening right now. Ramazani is he's trying way too hard because he's not got enough minutes. So he's trying to prove himself within those 6 or 7 minutes that he gets per game. He needs more minutes because he does have the quality to win Leeds games. We all know that. So now the Willy Gnonto thing has happened. Hopefully now you can see, or we can see, what benefits giving these players off the bench more minutes does to this team. So for me, it was evident, yesterday that needed to happen. And the thing right now is, you look at the games that we've got remaining, we've got a good run of games. We've also got 4 of the bottom 6 left to play. So Leeds have to step up because they've played Portsmouth now, they've played QPR, both have had nothing to play for. And I don't think in the last 2 games we've been good enough by our standards. Millwall was a little bit back to it, but that's a home game. What I don't want us to do is to get back into these phases again that we were in sort of at the start of the season, where we'd critique Leeds' away form. We don't want to get to that standard of which we're starting away games slower. And you've kind of seen that in our last 3 away games: Sheffield United, Portsmouth, and QPR. We need to be starting these games quicker. We need to be starting these games with a high tempo. There's a lot of this conversation leading, and this is a third thing. It's all about standards and expectation, but there's a third thing here which needs to be spoken about. It's the conversation of, oh, well, they've got loads to play for, these bottom sides. Well, so have we. We've got promotion to play for. And we've got way more quality than they have. We've got way more depth. We've got way more personnel available. When you're looking at the squad right now, Leeds have got a lot of players available. We've potentially got Ethan Ampadu back for the run-in as well. Leeds have got everything to play for, and we've got a much better squad than any of these teams. So all of that shouldn't count for anything, really. Football isn't played on paper, but the majority of time it should be. And you saw even yesterday when Leeds weren't at their best, when we were at our pomp for about 20 minutes in that second half, they couldn't get out. They couldn't breathe. We're suffocating them. We're just piling them back. All the balls were going into the box and there was just no one to tap it in. But we were all over them for a period of time after that second goal. But then they steadily got back into it again. So, another thing that I wanted to just add on as a bit of a bonus bit was Joe Rodon. I've been speaking about Pascal Strout for so long now. I've been speaking about how he's the best centre-back. I think this season the best centre-back's been Joe Rodon. I think he's been unbelievable this season. He's developed so much in terms of his passing out from the back, his leadership. And I think Pascal was struggling a little bit yesterday. And I don't think you see in any game really like that. Maybe at Ellen Road a couple of times, maybe in the Sunderland game where they were pressing on his first touch a little bit, Joe Rodon, Isidore. But aside from that, maybe Adam Armstrong was causing him a little bit of bother in terms of that press as well for West Bromwich Albion. But aside from those games in particular, he's been flawless. And I think Pascal, maybe because of the injury out and getting back to that level, has struggled maybe a little bit more than Joe this season. Joe has just been absolutely outstanding. He's been so good, and he was one of the better players yesterday. And another thing to leave you guys on, and it comes back to the conversation of Tanaka and Rothwell. Brownie was mentioning the other day that if he was to drop one of them, there'd be a conversation of if it was Tanaka or if it was Rothwell. We put up the stats yesterday, and all the ratings were that Joe Rothwell was the better player yesterday. And I think when Rothwell has been playing from the start recently, I think he's been better than Tanaka. I think that's a real conversation. It's not a favourite one to have because everybody loves Tanaka, including me. But I think we've got to be real here. Football is based on meritocracy. And if he is to change, he was going on about Gruev. Tanaka's going to Japan, isn't he? Traveling 1,000 miles, and then he's got to come back. And I think he's going to be back for Leeds' game against Swansea the day before. I think there's a likelihood you're going to see Rothwell and maybe Gruev in there. Guys, let me know your three things. Let me know in the comment section below what you think on this one. And yeah, come join me for the Sheffield derby at midday. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Go over to the second channel. We'll see you in a bit.